So they'll be calling you a radical. So I want to stay on this. I mean, you cannot make this up. You know, the whole nuclear world, the whole. So Robert Downey Jr. holds his Oscar for his masterful portrayal of Louis Strauss. Let's start from the beginning. Once upon a time, in a faraway place, Laurel Canyon. Was Joni Mitchell's great quote back in the day? The craziest people in the United States end up in California. The craziest people in California end up in Los Angeles. The craziest people in Los Angeles end up in Hollywood. The craziest people in Hollywood end up in Laurel Canyon. Once upon a time. So where's Frank Zappa when you need him? So let's talk about this. Louis Strauss. Now I think this is important because I think people have lost their way. Which came first, the nuclear chicken or the egg? Anybody who says they're anti-nuclear bomb, you have to be anti-nuclear energy. I mean, I did see Graham Nash come and sit right next to me. Mother's Peace a few years ago. And so, it is what it is, you know. David Bowie gave me some money at one of my anti-nuclear events in New York came. Where are you guys? Where you been? Where you going, Freebird Child? Where you going, Freebird Child? So, I've had so much to think about this. I don't eat, sleep, drink it. I sleep with it. My father nuked in the Nevada test site, drafted Marine when I was a kid. My La Jolla tennis playing mom, my Hollywood Marine father, literally made me on the beach. San Onofre. I've been battling these issues from birth. Literally. My great uncle, Al Hunsaker, the LA actor, was connected with all these people, La Jolla. So he was friends with Leo. For years and years and years, we got it shoved down our throat that somehow Oppenheimer was the good guy and Louis Strauss was the bad guy. When in fact, it's completely the opposite. The great guy was Albert Einstein. I don't think people realize how bad Einstein hated Oppenheimer. Oh, they hated each other. Do not kid yourself. You sure could all the Strauss, Oppenheimer. Everybody hated Oppenheimer. I wonder why. So, when the Manhattan Project, and this is important because Strauss, of course, perforated using radionuclides for cancer treatment. You don't think I got skin in the game? I got the 4 tattoos on me. Oh, I had radiation. LDSC State. I was Dr. Thompson's very last president, his historic career. Now, my famous doctor, Fimbo Peters from Denmark, not to be confused with West Hand at East 8. You know about West Hand in LA? You know, that's Woody Allen's buddy who wrote all those bullshit books. It came out later that he was paid by the nuclear industry to lie. So Strauss's mom and dad died of cancer. He pushed it. It's not your father's radiation, literally. My father died in the Huntsman Center. Well, he actually died at home, but that's where he was being treated. And I'm not the one that named it the luxury good of death. You know, so when I go off on the luxury good of death, the Huntsman County, I'm not the one that said that. I'm not the one that named that. The brass at LDSC State told me that, you know. I got lucky enough, my family got me in there. You know, the great Vincent Hansen, Fimbo Peterson. So he pushed the narrative of radiation treatment. Well, when Oppenheimer was so fucking self-indulgent here, and Nolan does a perfect job with him, especially in the sex scene. He shows it how it was all about him. I mean, that scene's masterful. It's so Freudian, and, you know, so am I. Falma K. Brody, Bernard DeVoto. I grew up in the great Freudian city, Ogden, Utah. So, he was a piece of shit. So we always got shoved down our throat. I never bought it. And now that I've had time to reflect, Strauss wasn't the bad guy. Strauss was the good guy. Einstein was the great guy. Einstein was only blocked from the Manhattan Project. The FBI and the CIA were after him. The great peace activist. Remember, he called himself the Quaker. Called war a disease. He was anti-nuclear before the Manhattan Project ever got thought up. Hell of a way to boil water. Kevin Blanch, hell of a way to boil a planet. So the fact that Downey Jr. holds the Oscar, his first Oscar, at the exact identical, to the second, to the moment. 13, that famous Masonic number, 13. I always wore 13 in sports. To the second, the 13th anniversary of the greatest disaster in human history, the meltdowns at Fukushima, Japan. To the second. That's impossible, right? I mean, it's the greatest anti-nuclear movement in history. It's not shown in Japan, by the way. I have lots of connections there, as you know. If you don't believe me, you go ask NATO Khan, who came up and said thank you. You go ask Sudoku, folding 1,000 paper guns, niece, who came, asked me, asked Jim, can we come to the NOLA here in Utah and do it? Yeah. Who came up to me and hugged me and let me hold a real post. I have the atom bomb disease. I have the atom bomb disease. They're going to start showing the movie in Japan. The only thing I don't like about the movie is I would have liked to seen the raw footage. Oh, but nobody sees that. It's still classified to this day. Really? Yeah. Laurel Canyon on Balco on chemo. Didn't Zappa buy that house? Oh, yeah. Once upon a time, in a faraway place, Laurel Canyon, California, in those Hollywood hills, in those Hollywood nights. Web firm and high. Where'd you sleep last night, girl? Don't you fucking lie to me. I slept in the dead fucking pines with the suns from Fukushima, Japan. Oh, they always shine. In the pines with the sun, they always shine. Where did you sleep? He wants to sell me Lead Belly's guitar. Kurt Cobain unplugged. Courtney Love wants to sell me. Courtney Love wants to sell me Kurt Cobain's guitar. No, who's Courtney Love's dad? Briefly dead. Garcia died long ago. The rightfully dead needs to rightfully die. When Garcia died, Garcia was the shit, man. The great activist that he was. When you see the Southern Cross for the first time. Nash, the great activist that he was. Springsteen down by their farm. Oh, fuck him. Don't even get me going on that fucking sellout. Where you been, Freebird Child? Where you been, Freebird Child? Where you been? Where you going? How old are you now? When you see the Southern Cross for the first time. You seen your ocean? You seen your ocean at your feet in LA? Have you walked out and looked at your tide pools in this acute catastrophe? Which came first, the nuclear chicken or the egg? So I want people to understand this. Tell her. So Einstein never wrote that letter. That's total bullshit. The reason Einstein was on Princeton the whole time is because he was afraid that what is now the CIA, wasn't the CIA then, but the powers there be after him, he was really afraid they were going to kill him. He was such a radical, intense, beautiful peace activist. I mean, he was afraid of him. What a mind. What a beautiful fucking mind. Einstein, war is a disease, and anybody that participates in war is inflicted with the disease. He was so fiercely anti-nuclear. So the U.S. intelligence has behind enemy lines. Leo comes to him. My grandfather knew Leo personally. I'm sure I was a little teeny kid, but I met Leo in La Jolla, the slums of La Jolla, North PB, my place. My Uncle Al was friends with him. He's like, the whole apparatus, we've got to know, does Hitler, do the Germans have it? U.S. intelligence is there for, working it. Finally, they've got it all figured out and got it handled. communique comes back. They're talking in code. Baby never born. Mother never pregnant. When Leo heard that, now Leo wrote the letter. They're Hungarian. Teller drove drove Leo to Einstein's house in Long Island. Worked on him. Einstein, my worst regret. I should have never signed that letter. It opened up the spigot on the Manhattan Project and never shut it off. You've taken this technology as far as you can take it. So the communique came back in 1943 to Los Alamos. They're like, he doesn't have it. Never interested. Not even. They don't want it. They're not close to it. They're never going to get it. Leo, I'm out. There's no sense. We cannot use this bomb. Oppenheimer was asked, if you would have got it earlier, would you have dropped it on Germany? Yes. Nolan says that perfectly at the end of the movie. It's too bad we didn't get it earlier to drop it on the Germans. It's a masterful, important line in there. When the hat blows off on Albert, Albert's my favorite. He's always been my favorite besides my father. Beautiful peace activist that he was. It's a beautiful mind. What was said between the two? That's been debated for freaking decades. I know what my grandfather told me what was said. And you know how radical I am on this YouTube fucking site. And I don't even want to say it, but Einstein ripped him. Told him what the fuck he thought of him. Einstein fucking hated the guy. They all did. When Oppenheimer degrades Strauss like that in public was such a chicken shit punk fucking move, and it was so out of, called him a second-rate wannabe physicist. Whoa. So we were all taught that he blackballed him. He was. Stalin's sitting right there. Stalin says, I'm moving in. We're ready to go in. The bomb was dropped because one reason. They didn't want Russia to get Japan like they got all Eastern Europe. The U.S. has got to get something out of this. Fighting uphill in Okinawa, nasty, bloody, horrible. Fuck, the general that was running the theater there on them fighting up in Oilfield, Hacksaw Ridge, was a fucking dug-in autocrat who would not pivot. My uncle was on Omaha Beach on D-Day, who raised me, my father. Look up my Uncle Class. Look up his obituary. The first shirt in Japan. Fuck, that guy's so connected as fucking on. That's the people that raised me. Everybody backed out that was anybody, including Leo, who wrote the fucking letter. They all backed out, except Teller didn't back out. Oppenheimer sure, because it was all about Oppenheimer. He wanted to be the famous guy. He was the great physicist. Einstein knew what he was up to. Einstein's fucking arrogant, fucking genocidal fucking maniac. Einstein hated him. Rightfully so. So everybody's backing out. Everybody's fleeing from the Manhattan Project. Everybody. Everybody. Of course, Truman. He's got so much political pressure on him from different politicians around the country. But where did they find that fuck? I thought Wallace was the VP. Wallace was the VP for all the time. Then they plugged this fucking... And his thesis changed over the years in interviews. Strauss did so many interviews, and he says, I did everything I fucking could to prevent that dropping of that bomb. He had fucking ungodly amounts of remorse. They all did, but except for Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer never apologized for that bombs. So, and by the way, the second bomb, they never had time to fucking surrender. The fucking, it was so quick, and they were in such shell shock fucking thing. There was never really no communique. Drop another one. Fucking, what was the famous senator from Georgia then? Keep dropping them. He wanted them to drop dozens of them. Drop all of them you got. Oppenheimer was a dirtbag. One of the greatest mass murdering, and I will quote Herbert Hoover again. And you got him all wrong, too. Herbert Hoover didn't cause the fucking Great Depression. Herbert Hoover was a fucking humanitarian. Think about down there in Panama in the fucking, you know how they got named Banana Republics? Wasn't that Freud's fucking nephew who did all that? Fucking dirtbag. He invented the stoplight, by the way. Hoover. Never in the history of mankind is any people, any military, any nation ever indiscretionally mass murdered women and children. Never, till now. As hideous as it is in fucking Ukraine, it's fucking hideous. One of the great bloodbaths in history. That this proxy war, these fucking board game oligarchs in the United States just perpetuates. They're not indiscretionally mass murdering women and children. Well, they're starving women and children in Gaza right now. That's not war. The bombs at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, that's not war. That's not fucking war. Those weren't military targets. Not even. Firebombing. Hirohito lived in New York his whole life, didn't he? Guashioko. Oh, I tried. Me and Oppenheimer. Me and Eric. You know, the artist. Remember we went there? We had the interview set up with Yoko. You're supposed to do this. Remember all those that work in New York that I did? Let it be, let it be, let it be. So his masterful performance of Strauss is master. By the way, John Kennedy, that's true that he is one that held that up. But the bottom line is everybody hated Oppenheimer. Who made the decision to drop that fucking bomb? Oppenheimer. Teller, Oppenheimer, Truman. The political, it really came down to those three. It was those three. I mean, Truman leaned on Teller, and now Leslie, of course, he was just the good old fucking yes man. He didn't have a really speaking part in it. You know, he was overseeing it and being the yes man that he was, but he was all gung ho. But the nuclear physicists that put this baby together, they all backed out in '43. No, there's no sense in dropping this. Was it evil? Oh, wait, Pat. No one says it. Just like I've said for years, the greatest event in human history until Fukushima happened. Now think about it. The greatest event in human history. Oppenheimer dropping them fucking 2 bombs. No doubt. Changed everything. Papa Oppy dropped. They never fucking stopped. Went off Vietnam to kill the Viet Cong. Kissinger in Cambodia. Kissinger in Cambodia. Wolfowitz. Bremer. Fucking Cheney. Fucking blood for fucking oil. Blood for oil. Went off to Iraq. You did Cheney and friends a big old sack. Fucking went off to Afghanistan to kill the Taliban. Oligarchs make it rain in Ukraine. The Middle East divide, and it changed everything. It changed the rules of engagement. And it's us here. Here. Fucking firstborn unicorn, hardcore. Californium, rest in peace. Here you are, living right there in L.A. To the second. Once upon a time, in a far distance off place, such beautiful harmony when you see the Southern Cross for the first of my, and that great harmony sound from Laurel Canyon. Oh my God. My favorites, the Mamas and the Papas. The only better harmony in history was Chavez Ravine, the Dodgers. I got great stories about Chavez Ravine. When you see the Southern Cross for the first time, that harmony of those four is make you almost cry. Listen to it. That one better is the Mamas and the Papas. California Dreaming. Wow. What an evolution in LA. What about Diablo Canyon? TikTok, Diablo Canyon Clock. When I say my father was nuked to death in the Nevada test site, drafted Marine, died later, baby, then I get it? Who made those fucking choices? I know who made those choices. Tell her. Really. Leo perpetuating the hydrogen bomb? Yeah. Once the bomb was dropped, the genie was out of the fucking bottle. Once the bomb was dropped, Leo, they all knew. I will quote Oppenheimer, 38 or 9. when they're putting this baby together, the man had. Do you know why it's at Los Alamos? Because he had his cabin there. You know. If the Germans want this weapon, they will get it. For they are the best nuclear physicists on Earth. Now, just remember Angela Merkel was a nuclear physicist. When Fukushima happened, they shut him down. Again, Oppenheimer, the Germans are the best nuclear physicists on Earth. He knew full well that the Germans didn't have it. He knew full well that they had no interest. He knew full well if we didn't drop it, they wouldn't drop it. He knew full well that the Russians would communicate with us. We were able to. We were allies together. He knew full well if he dropped it, they would. He just wanted to be the first. He wanted to be the guy. She's up on him. All about him, wasn't it? He died young of cancer. You do know that. Leo died of a heart attack, I believe. I met Frank Oppenheimer in Berkeley a few times at the old coffee shop. I've had all these years to think about it. You know, now that I've gotten old, my experience as the world's foremost expert. Try me. Try me. The movie's a masterpiece, by the way. Robert Downey Jr.'s performance is masterful. So is him playing Teller. How good is he playing Teller, right? Fuck, that movie's so fucking good. I wish they'd have showed some footage, but it's classified still. But Strauss was right. Oppenheimer was the creep, not Strauss. Strauss did interview after interview. He was so incredibly remorseful. He really was. They all were, not Oppenheimer. Truman, he was just ignorant. Well, that's what they get found. So I wanted to put this up because I think it's incredible irony. And I want to say to all you celebrities and everybody, and Nolan and all you people, you know, hopefully somebody sends them this video. What about Fukushima? You can't be anti-nuclear bomb without being out nuclear energy. What about depleted uranium they're using against the Geneva Conventions, against the UN Charter, violating international law? You know, to the point where Beau Biden, he won't even say it. Joe, say it. Remember Kamala Harris's mother was the epidemiologist at Livermore. I worked with Kamala personally on the shutdown of Senator. If it wasn't for Kevin Blanch, Senator never shuts down. You know, when you see this Southern Cross for the first time. Once upon a time, this far away, beautiful Harmony Place, not far from Chavez Ravine. You know, Governor Olson on Chavez Ravine fought him. Remember? The old socialist governor. Guess where he grew up, went to high school? Ogden High, right here. Go Dodgers. Garvey played here too, by the way. Right here in this town. He fought Chavez Ravine that O'Malley's putting in there. Do you know Peter, who just died of cancer? The Padres owner? Same age as me. Same connections as me. Same disease as me. Exactly the same time. 2011. Multi-billionaire. I'm sleeping on my sleep bag, doing all my tidal work, working all the beaches in La Jolla. The billionaire. Joey died this year. The exact same. Just another coincidence. Got in 2011. So many. So many. Tucker Carlson's mom, La Jolla. LA. 2011, 2012. I mean, it's so many. These coincidences. Like the dead tide pools in 2011, 2012. Like the fires, Plutonium fires, Fukushima that burned down through the canyons. Like the well collapse, the acute coincidence. Holding the Oscar to the second on the 13th anniversary. Spooky science at a distance, as Albert Einstein called it. Spooky science at a distance. Art imitate man, man imitate art, nuclear art imitating man. The movie is way more powerful in rejuvenating what I've been at my whole life. You went away, you forgot about me, you fled from me, you know. For Hamlet and Cassandra got together and they had a baby. And I see for miles and miles. So when I say Louis Strauss was right in talking about the fight between him and Oppenheimer. And I think I pretty well know what Einstein said to Oppenheimer. And this is coming third hand from relatives from when I was a boy, but I've read everything Einstein's ever written. And people don't know. Everybody thinks he was just this great, wonderful. Oh, he was a pretty radical fucking peace activist. Called himself a Quaker. He was, I mean, Eddington. Whoa. I could write a whole fucking book just on those two. There's my St. Onofre fucking book there. That's the book that was made when they did the exchange. And they had the accident there, St. Onofre. When I was going in and out of a coma in the LDSC state bone marrow trial. Another coincidence. East 8 I was in versus West 10. LA versus Salt Lake. Once upon a time in a faraway Laurel Canyon, California, where's Frank Zappa when we need him? Leo was right. What about Fukushima? The greatest event in human history? Dropping those bombs? No doubt. Until March 11th. The two events mingled. They like shooting a photon from 8 million years away and it shows up here and here. 8 billion light years away and it shows up here and here at the same time. Albert Einstein. Spooky science at a distance. Entangle me not. Stand tuned. Firstborn unicorn. Talk about a coincidence, huh? Stand tuned.